Welcome to another episode of Mir's Coffee Roaster Warm-Up Sessions podcast. I am by myself here in the studio, but I am not just talking. We're going to have a wonderful guest on. My dear friend, Ansley Randall, is on the podcast. We'll be chatting it up. Got a few cool things to talk about. But first of all, Ansley, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on here, Serge.
Super stoked. You're like far away from Washington. Where are you at?
I'm in London, England.
London.
8,000 miles away from you, probably.
Holy crap.
I think I'm 4,000 miles from Florida, so it has to be like double.
When you said London, it almost sounded like Linden because we have a little small town north of us
called
really? Linden.
Oh, that's so funny. And I'm
nuts.
It's Linden. Midnight here. It is 3:30 there. Right?
Yes, it is. We had 9-hour difference. Holy crap, man! Wow. Thanks again. Like spending your midnight, your crossover time between 2 days with the Mirror Squad, and with me.
Yeah.
Especially. So that's super dope. Well, I'm stoked on that.
I'm so excited.
But like all of our podcasts, we kick. Man, I'm pulling a Mark. Mark always stumbles like that at some point. Sorry, Mark. But we kick things off with a little batch brew, little sip. You and I talked about coffee just over the phone a couple days ago about drinking coffee and where you drink coffee. We have a lot here. While we sip this, I don't think you should be drinking coffee at midnight. You're probably drinking a water.
No,
Let me guess.
I know. I might get a water bottle here. I don't even know what. I've had it for a couple days.
Buxton. Oh, sick.
Buxton
nice.
Coffee. I mean, not coffee. It's midnight.
Anyway, I'm drinking some coffee. A few weeks ago, Mark won the Comandante Brewers Championship, which is like almost like a pour-over competition with the brand Comandante from Germany. He has some competition coffee in the house, and we brewed it last time. I walk in the studio, and I'm like, I'm totally not prepared because I didn't bring coffee with me. So what do we have? And that coffee was chilling. So here goes nothing. It's also cold. I think I brewed it like an hour ago. No, it's actually not bad. I mean, I wish Mark was here to taste it. I wish you were here to taste it because it's actually pretty tasty for a batch brew, especially, not a pour over.
I know. And cold too.
Yeah, and cold. It's solid. It's a good coffee in general. Yeah, most folks know about this coffee because we talked about it for like a long time on the last episode. So I'm not gonna do that again to you folks and to you. It's good coffee. Anyway, it's from Nemesis. Nemesis is a cafe in Vancouver. So when you come visit me in Bellingham, we'll go to Vancouver. 20 minutes away from the border.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's much easier for me to go grab coffee in Vancouver than Seattle. Vancouver is my second favorite city.
I've heard it's
after
beautiful.
New York. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to talk about you for a minute, if you don't mind. I'm trying to stay on schedule here. Stay on our not so script, you know what I mean? But yeah, folks. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I normally don't host these things. It's usually Mark, but what the heck? Let's go for it. All right, folks. A little formal introduction. Who is Ansley? Ansley is a dear friend of mine. Amazing human being, an artist, muralist, coffee professional, founder and owner of Jaxs Rad. Man, good times. We're going to talk about Jaxs Rad.
I know.
Those are the best times. Super solid. You're also a podcaster.
Yeah.
You have a podcast, The Radcast, which is super dope. And you've worked in coffee how many years?
I didn't work in coffee that long, but I did because I was a barista. Bold Bean trained me, and then I was at Mini Bar for a little bit, a donut shop in Jacksonville, and then I quit that and went full time as an artist. And Jaxs Rad. But I was always like into planning out the latte art competitions too, and sitting in coffee shops all the time. That we would do like fake latte art competitions in coffee shops too. I got really great at the little trees.
Yeah, you got solid. You did compete in a few throwdowns.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that. That was fun.
One time I came in third place by accidentally. I felt so bad.
Oh, really? What
At
what throwdown was that?
It was the mini bar latte art competition, and
That was
I
a
don't
big
know,
one.
people kept dropping out, and I just kept like going, like raising up, but somehow I got third place.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I was like, this is not fair. I should not be here.
I don't remember that throwdown. Who knows why I don't remember it, but it was a good one.
Yeah, it was the one that Gerald, our buddy Gerald and I competed against each other.
Speaking of Gerald, that throws me back to, I remember the day we met. Gerald was working on a project, and it was some people project where he was taking portraits of folks and then writing stuff. And he asked me,
it was like where you're at in life.
Yeah. That's right. He asked me to pop in, and he was like, oh, come by OCC, the building over in like Jaxs Beach. And he's like, yeah, we'll kind of shoot some photos and like chat. And, by the way, like Ansley Randall is going to be there. And I was like, oh, like the Ansley Randall. I'm like, holy crap.
You know who I was?
Like, wait.
That's so funny.
Oh, of course I knew who you were. Yeah, of course. Jaxs Rad was going off. Like, just heard about you and seen you around the cafes, so it was like, holy crap. Wow. So I was super nervous. Probably don't remember that, but I was like, I don't even know what to say. So
well, I'm just that's so funny. I'm always super awkward, I feel like, when I meet people anyways, so.
And I feel like from that day on, we connected, started talking about like photo stuff, creative stuff, coffee stuff. You always sat in the same spot at Bold Bean most of the time, you and Gerald. If y'all were there, I knew where to find you.
Yeah.
Folks, if you're listening, you're from Northeast Florida, big shout out to 904 Duval.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's super dope.
Being in London, the Jacksonville Jaguars play here. And someone even said, like, Duval to me. And I was like, no. This is like, I did not say that. But man, everybody likes the Jaguars here. It's really funny. They all, like, have gone to the games.
Let's dive in, because I have a few things that I want to talk to you about. One, we'll dive into this during the conversation, but first of all, you designed our coffee bags for me, our coffee roasters for us, which we're super stoked on. Everyone loves them.
Good.
I've had amazing feedback from people. I actually helped with Western Washington's University's design team here, and the design professor talked about your bags as well, and was super stoked on them. Yeah, so it's super solid. I'm like super grateful. But before we dive into that, a few things I wanted to ask you is really kind of your journey and how you became a full-time artist, but also like more than that, because like we said, you worked in coffee and now you're traveling, you're in London, you're painting murals. And I think sometimes, especially for me, like knowing your story, but also seeing where you're at now, I'm thinking, man, Ansley has made it. Like, this is the dream.
Right.
I'm so lost right now in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm like, I'm in London because I want to be here, and I'm trying to like network so hard, but.
It is. Speaking of hard, it's like, people see that, I see that, social media may portray that, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of hard work that's put in. So if we kind of take a step back, and if we look back at your early barista days, what were you thinking when you were in that place? Because I know, like, because both you, Gerald, and I, we were all kind of in the same boat, like, crap, we got to make money somehow, but we love this Jaxs Rad thing. So what were you thinking? Where were you at that point?
Yeah, and I think foremost I studied graphic design, and that's kind of like, I think like growing in graphic design, I always liked bringing fine art and design together, but I always felt like limitations, or either I would like grow too much where I was at in like a job, or there was like people that would limit me. in what I could do or what they thought I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted my own business because I was like, well, at least I could keep growing. I could like morph into who I want to be. And that's when it was like 2017. I I didn't go full time yet, but I was like part time. I was like really in the coffee
Mm-hmm.
scene. I was like part time like retail job. And yeah, I would hang out Bold Bean all the time. I think my days off, I would just be in Bold Bean, like working on design or trying to just like keep up with posting on social media or anything I could to like figure out how my style. And in that whole year, I remember I was like, I would just ask people all the time, like, hey, like I've always been, I love street art. I think like I'm always fascinated by it, and I think like I think there's so many insane street artists like that they shouldn't be putting
Mm-hmm.
the tags where they're putting them, but there's also like incredible just like meaning in street art too that I just wanted to paint murals and put I was really kind of like when I started my own business, I had a just like really a design professor that went to a different college encouraged me to get into pattern design. And I really wanted to do patterns and I wanted to paint murals and I wanted to put patterns on walls. That was kind of like my goal. And I just asked
Mm-hmm.
everyone. Like everyone I talked to, I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And I really want to paint a wall. Like if you have a wall, like I'll paint it, whatever, like it doesn't matter. And finally, I reached out to my buddy Elias, who they own tons of buildings in Jacksonville. And I told him, I was like, look, this is my dream. Like, I want to paint a mural. And, like, do you have a wall for it ever? And he finally, I don't know if a while later, he got back to me and he was like, hey, I have a storefront in Springfield, which is north of downtown Jax, that that you can paint. And like I had to design something out. I had no idea what I was doing. I remember I really liked this girl's style with shapes. Um and I remember
Mm-hmm.
seeing her like on social media and I was like if I could be anyone, like I want to be her cuz she would just do it was kind of like the whole thing like putting her designs on things and painting murals a lot. And I remember I designed this one out. This is like my first, I guess, commission mural. And it was supposed to be like more structured shapes. The building was so terrible. Like it was this huge, like
Nice.
stone, like, I don't know, stones everywhere. And I'll say it looks
Mm-hmm.
organic. The whole
Nice.
wall. I had to use, like, I learned how to use a scissor lift for the first time. And they just dropped it off and no one taught us how to use it. And,
Yep.
yeah, it was so hard. But like once I got that, it was like a snowball effect that I kept getting
Yep.
more. And I think one of the bigger ones I got, I guess it was that year. Like I did one for Bold Bean because I reached out to them and I did one in their bathroom. And to this day, I like I can't look at that mural because it's not
Yeah.
clean at all. Like I had a girl actually help me at that time that she wasn't great at like lines and it's all like messy. Not just because of her, but
Yep.
I don't know. Every mural like there's so many challenges with that you learn through it. Like that the Bold Bean one, I remember it like peeled off the wall, and all the stuff. I had no idea that it would do that.
Oh
And
wow, that's
then I
big.
got Belk, a big retail store chain, contacted me to paint like a 20 by 40 wall. Um, yeah, it was like really fast that they wanted it done in 6 days, and I think I had like a week or two to design it and just put it out there. And that was like a bigger project of mine, and probably one of the
Wow.
best
That's right. I remember
ones that
that.
I've gotten as far as marketing, because that hooks me up with like Michelob
Yeah.
Ultra and I think Life Water too. I did a post for them, but yeah, yeah, like that was so cool. Like I feel like I need more of those.
Mm-hmm.
But then like after that, like I guess all through this too, I really even 2019, I really wanted to go like even to London too, and I feel like that's my connection here. But I guess I know backtracking through like growing in
Mm-hmm.
murals. I was working at Minibar 2018 when they first opened. And I really, you asked me like how I felt at that point. Like I feel like I almost feel like where I'm at right now is like I had no idea where I was going, but I was so like I guess I was so miserable in my life and so like I was so tired of being depressed that I wanted this so badly and like there was nothing like I think I lost so much like I had huge clients for graphic design that they like cut me around the same time and like I just felt like this was the only path. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is the only way that I could go and I had no idea what I was doing. And I
Yeah.
quit everything. Um I moved back home with my parents and I booked a flight to Paris. And I went to like
Mm-hmm.
Paris for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I was like, all right, we're doing this. And I feel
Yeah.
like that was like I started Jaxs Rad, I guess the year before that, which Jaxs Rad is like a platform for other creatives. And we had like a whole
Yeah.
team of people like Sergey and Gerald and Travis and T. Like they were all like amazing people that we would get together and like create things. Just like I felt like everything we did was really silly too. Like
Yeah.
nothing was super serious, but we would like
Mm-hmm.
start events. And I think 2018, even right when I was at Minibar, I think that was my first event that I did. And I think that was kind of the
Yeah.
pivotal point of
No,
my
I,
life is like, dang, like I need to do this and I need to quit.
mhm.
Like that, I don't know. Like I think you just sometimes have to take a leap of faith because I don't know, you just I think
Yeah.
you get
No,
like pushed in a corner to do it.
yeah. I totally agree because I remember those times in 2018 where we would be talking about, okay, what's like the possibility of Jax's Rad? What does Jax's Rad bring to the community and to the city of Jacksonville? We were having those conversations. But the wild thing is, even where I'm at right now, like I've been working in coffee since like late 2016. You and I, Gerald, Travis, the squad, we basically all met around coffee, whether that was Bold Bean, Social Grounds, Mini Bar. Like we all connected around this space. And I think a lot of us were just grinding it out, like hard work. I remember just the networking that you would do in cafes. I remember when you connected with Elias. Like I feel like I think I was there when it happened at Social Grounds or before that. Like I remember all of that energy and all of that investment, all of the hard work that was put in to make things happen. And I think a lot of the times when we see the semifinal result or we see where we are, a lot of the times it doesn't like unless we share that with people, unless we pass that on, that a lot of it was just hard work, just grinding it out. And not all of that gets recorded. Not all of that goes on a podcast, but a lot of it has to do with just tenacity, patience, being able to, crank out shots behind bar, but believing that you're going to do something more than just pull shots. Like you may, paint a massive street mural like yourself. You may do these big projects, but it's more or less positioning yourself into like a place in a space where a potential opportunity could come along. And I remember seeing that in you. Even you and I, like we would, I remember you and I did AIGA, and I don't know why. I always remember that event. That event was kind of like crucial for me in my life and where I was at. But then bigger events like Southern Swells, when we hosted that event, and seeing the potential of like social media's impact on a business, and then
Yeah,
you
because we bring like music and artists together and just start
yes
like a party. And some were like out of control, and then some were like I felt like Southern Swells was more together, and that like you would come in and take pictures at it. But like,
yeah
yeah, you're right. Like social media, especially then, I think social media was so like a broad range too. It was easier.
100%. You were in my eyes especially technically doing something new. Like, I think what you envision Jaxs Rad to become is not only to be like a marketing platform, but more or less like, oh, I want to reveal what is rad about Jacksonville through a creative lens. And I think that vision was like super powerful. So kudos to that.
And keep it genuine too. I think even like being here in London, I was talking to someone that created walls for street artists, but like how much like money goes into like corporate people use artists for money too all the time. And it's like I I think like being in a coffee shop and seeing there were so many people sitting there that we all were like friends and we all were trying to do something that it was like I think everything I was always like, use Jax's Rat. Like, let's do something. Or like, I remember Amy wanted to be a DJ and that was her first DJ thing. Or Travis, like I got him to design. Like that was one of his first projects. And I think it was cool. Like it was nice for everyone to have that.
Yeah, I still have Travis's poster for the pour over competition. Yeah, I'm like, that's a framed piece for me. Like, I freaking love it. So, yeah,
No, it
killer
was
stuff
cool.
like that. So working in coffee, being a designer, being an artist, you got a few other opportunities while you connected with these coffee businesses. I believe you designed a couple of coffee bags or a few before designing the one for Mirror. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I worked with Bold Bean a little bit too.
Right.
Who else? I feel like I've worked with other people. Oh, Young Buck Coffee. We collabed on that project too because we were trying to do Israel at the time.
I feel like there's also this crossover between the creativity within the coffee process, right? At least all of us coffee professionals feel like coffee is a creative job, whether that's roasting, whether that's latte art. But there's this different design element, which is like bag design, which to me, like that means a lot. One of the things that we love about the design that you made for our bag is the fact that it represents these dynamics of who we are as a brand. So it's a form of communication, whether that would be a video, a podcast, a photo. A bag design is also like a physical, it's like, imagine something like something digital that you created that's made physical and tangible for a bunch of folks. That's even before they taste the coffee. So those bags are so important. When it comes to your approach towards working for like coffee clients, what is your like maybe thought process? Like, what are you looking for? What even gets you to say yes? Like, why did you even say yes to Mirror?
Let me think about that. I think like, well, in the whole like coffee process, it probably, like you were saying, is very similar to the creative process. Or like being a creative, I feel like it's very consistent and you have to be consistent and over again. And it's a crafted skill that you have to keep learning. And I feel like, don't you want to keep being better and better at it too?
Yeah.
But I think that's the same with design too. And I think when we talked too, you were like, look, you explain exactly what your mission was too, and like what you wanted. You wanted like a minimalist bag, and I think like and same with like Jaxs Rad or marketing or anything like that. I've always been intrigued by it's all like psychology. I feel like of like taking it's mirroring someone else of like taking what you want and making it into like a design, something creative. So it's, I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, I don't, yeah, 100% makes sense. I remember when we were talking about how are we going to design the side gazettes, whatever, however you pronounce it, on the bag. And you were talking about like including those shapes inside, and we were talking about the deep meaning, like, okay, what could that mean? What does it like possibly communicates? And one of our main things was like, okay, like it communicates more or less like fragmented glass on the inside, yet still has this beauty to it, has this organic structure to it. And it's not just like it's not meaningless. And I think to me, one, working with you and having those conversations, like I think you also helped me understand what mirror is more because of your creative design.
And I think, because I feel like I remember when I first did it, it was like more complicated, and you're like, no, like I just want it clean. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I think that's what I've had to learn in life is I'll get so complicated with my designs. But I think like the best designs I have are so simple too. And even recently I painted bowls and like wooden bowls. And I'm like, those designs sold so well because they were just simple. And that's what I've kind of had to learn with design. But yeah, even like the meaning with mirror and shapes and like how it connects and they mirror each other down. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Because later when we had to design our coffee label that rotates with new coffees, we had similar conversations, but from a different perspective, because of something that you inspired in me and helped me understand about one design, but also about what those shapes can do and the psychology behind it. So I think that's like very powerful. And on top of that, like these bags are like photos are being taken of them. Like when Mark is shooting content, those bags like show up on our Instagram quite a bit because it's like our product, right? So then on top of designing a physical bag, you're also designing almost like a Instagram, a brand, that is communicated. And I think a lot of the times, whether, you're a business owner like myself, or you're a cafe owner, or you, own some equipment business, like we run into these conversations where we talk about design and social media marketing, and there's like this big crossover. What are some important things that we need to know about that? Like if I'm a business owner listening to this podcast and I'm starting a roasting company, what's some input that you can share when it comes to design and the crossover into social media marketing?
Well, I think it's finding artists that you like their style too.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's that, but then communicating, I don't know, everybody's so different, but I guess communicating what you envision for your company and where you see it going. Also, like a lot is your target audience, I'm trying to think of there's a whole thing in graphic design, you want a design brief. So it's like your target audience, I don't even remember all of it, but it's like all these steps of like the business side of who this person is and what do they want to communicate to their audience. And that's, yeah, I mean, this is what I said to someone even tonight. I was like, why don't they just know that like we're like graphic designers are for them? Like we're not setting up for failure. And usually the first design that we give someone is usually the best. But yeah, I mean, I think it is trusting a designer too, that they're not going to lead you astray. I mean, some of them might, but like as long as you as long as you like their style too and like communicate what you want. And like I think it's fine to go back to that designer and ask for some edits too, but just being like considerate of the edits as well, of how many edits there are, because that can even add time up to your process.
100%. I mean, Mark and I go back and forth. You'll probably be editing or listening to this and be like, oh yeah, that's our conversation. Because we go back and forth between that whole concept of, okay, as a business owner, I'm looking at someone's style, and that's something like I can't change or dictate, because if you work with shapes, that's different than, let's just say you're an illustrator and you're drawing coffee plants, right? It's different. But then there's also that, I guess, that crossover of like, okay, there's a designer style, and then there's a designer who's like hearing what an owner wants to do, and then taking that input and working with it and creating something that they may have never created before, but still within their style. So I think the creative process is one, it's complicated, but it's also big.
Right. And the logo, like when you ever create a logo or the bag, like you can use all those elements for marketing tools or stickers and t-shirts. Like they all are easily, like you can turn them into so much stuff easily.
With that said, like, okay, let's say I'm not a business owner. Let's say like I'm just a home barista and an influencer or wannabe influencer, that word, we all talk about. But every one of us has a degree of influence on social media. Let's say like I'm in that place, listening to your story and how you are quote unquote pursuing your dreams, but also, not just waiting for stuff to happen, but like pushing things. And I hate the word hustling, but you're putting in the work and the effort. And then at the same time, knowing the importance of social media, knowing the importance of like communicating online. What are some things that you can share with us about that place in life where you kind of don't have any opportunities yet? What do you do?
What do you do? I'm like, that's
what have you
that's
done?
Where,
yeah.
Well, I think it's all networking. I think social media is so different too. And I think with social media right now, you have to be consistent with it. And you have to, like do those stupid video reels, or like you have to figure out the sweet spot of, just don't get me started on social media, how annoying it is. But you have to find like the sweet spot of like what works to for your brand. And it really, the whole thing is, it's not, and the whole thing about social media is that I feel like you can communicate what you want to be or who you want to be. Not that like I'm in London painting free murals right now, but like on the outside, like it looks great. But like me, like I'm eating, I'm a starving artist. But I don't know. I think it's a lot of networking. I think like yes,
Yeah.
there's social media, yes, like posting what you're doing, but like also I think it's the people you meet, or like I mean even tonight I went to an artist talk and I went up to the artist who I only went there because he like has done stuff at Hotel Palms in Atlantic Beach, Florida, out in Jacksonville. And I like he follows me on Instagram, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe he could give me good advice, because he goes all over the world and paints patterns, and so it's like I'll go. And I got to talk to him at the end, and I was like, look, this is my dream. Like I want to be here. Like I want to be here in London too. Like I've always wanted to be here, and I'm here by myself, just trying to make this happen. And I was like, I'm painting these free walls places, like, and people just keep giving me more opportunities. And he was just like, keep doing it. He was like, you just got to keep doing it. And he was like, go up to people, like go up to their shops, and he's like, ask them if you can paint in their windows. He's like, do it for free. You'll be out there and you're going to be networking with people that walk down the street, and give them your business card. And he said, like, and I think that's how this guy's done it. It's like, it's all word of mouth too. And I'm sure like he's met cool people along the way through that. I mean, same with me. I think that's like a lot of it's been researching too, of like mural festivals and things like that. But it's also, like talking to people. And like, because I went to a mural festival in the UK last year, like I have more connections in the UK. And like I connected with people all over Europe that I'm gonna try to like meet up with some of them too, or all over the world, which is cool. But it is like and that's like right now I'm like, well, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm here for a month, and I was like, well, but what if I stay longer? What if I even got a gig over here that I could stay longer? But I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think you never know.
100% agree.
Yeah, you never know unless you try. And I think the thing that you should try is the thing that repeats over and over again in your life until you suck it up and do it. because I think it's always going to be there. Not like, and I don't think everybody has that, but for me, I always had that because it was just like I'd be so depressed doing anything else but my art. And I think it's been so fulfilling to me doing this, and painting huge walls and everything.
Yeah, 100%. I think even for me in coffee, I remember working at Sippers, and I remember just thinking like, oh, is this even possible? Like, am I going to do this coffee stuff, and will I actually be able to do this long term? Like, I was just working at a freaking coffee house, not knowing what could happen. But I feel like every single time there was an event, every single time there was a throwdown, I was not competing in those events. I remember going, what was darn embarrassing, forgot the cafe up in, it's not Social Grounds, of course, up in Neptune Beach, other grounds, Southern Grounds, the other grounds. I remember going to a throwdown there and grabbing my camera and being like, okay, I know like photography at least a little better than I know coffee. And I'm just going to shoot photos and see who I meet. That's how I met a lot of people. That's how I met Jacob from 904 Coffee. That's how I started just sending people would DM me on Instagram, be like, hey, I saw you were taking photos. Can you send me some photos? So then I went to the Kookaburra throwdown and started connecting with people. And after making a lot of those connections, like, oh, like I saw another job opening, like, hey, like, can I work with them? So I think what I hear you saying about networking is like 100% right on. Whether you're an artist, whether you're a designer, whether you're just looking for a job, all of that, like it worked for me as a coffee professional who worked for a cafe. Like, so I definitely encourage folks.
And I think the thing with you, Serge, is that you have like passion too. It's the same with me and like my art. It's like you have passion for the coffee scene. Like you always had it too. And it's lasted so long that it's morphed into all this. Because you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Like even when you left Jaxs.
Definitely, you have to want it.
Yeah, like look at all the stuff that you've done. Like that's awesome.
Having this conversation with you and just processing, like I don't get to talk about, not a lot of people know Sippers, not a lot of people know the roots of where I started in coffee. But I think even processing that, I'm starting to like really remember just how powerful those times were, and how important those times were, how forming they were. And definitely now owning a business, like things are not the same. Like I definitely, those experiences build to something else, but it's always so important to look back and being like, I remember in my rinky dinky apartment up in Atlantic Beach, that was like a hellhole with two other dudes just brewing pour overs on my coffee bar, with like barely the gear I could find at like garage sales or something like that.
Well, one time we picked you up to T and I to go interview that band.
Oh gosh.
When the sound like messed up I don't even know.
Everything was messed up about that interview. I failed so bad.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But that's the thing is like everybody has to start somewhere. Like even a mural, I had no idea what I was doing. And I still my whole thing is like, how do I get faster? Because I see other muralists that are huge name people and they're like 2 seconds they throw them up there. I don't know, maybe they're on something and they can just do it. I don't really know what's happening, but I don't know. I've gotten definitely faster at it. It's just
to step back, look at everything we talked about. This is maybe like more of a philosophical wrap up than normal, but as you are pursuing these murals, painting more, hoping to travel, who knows, maybe you'll be in London for longer than you expect. Maybe you'll be in Budapest. I mean, we talked about all that. Who knows, right? What is kind of the underlining source? And it might be something you've already said, but still, like, what is the underlining source to be like, I'm going to keep doing this, whether it's easy or hard, whether I make a lot of money or I don't, whether I even get an opportunity. What continues to drive you?
I don't know. I think I would. Well, I feel like this year I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about like I don't know who I am, and like really I've been working on my self confidence and just like I don't know. I mean how much of a dreamer I am. Like I really
Yeah.
like I've always been a dreamer, and I feel like for years, one of my biggest dreams has been like, I'm working in London and I'm with my family and we're going to like one of my jobs. And I don't know, I feel like this year was, had the start of it was very hard. But it's given me like space to do what I want to
Hmm.
do and have that freedom to do it. So it's like, I think right now, like, is my time to do that. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if anything, what an adventure I'll tell, you know? But
Yeah.
like, I mean, I've been thinking that a lot. This trip is like, you know, I'm gonna keep doing this. Like, I have to. I don't know. It's a drive in me, and I don't think everybody has that, but I do, and I can't stop it. And I
Yeah.
think like I don't want someone even to enter my life too to stop that. Like I want someone to like keep me going in that. And
Yeah.
that's I don't know. That's where I'm at. Which I'm like
I mean,
excited about it. But
yeah,
then I'm like,
totally.
what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, you sound like a classic artist. I
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Like the older
Yeah.
I get, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just this eccentric artist. No, you don't understand me. Like, it's funny meeting people because it's like you either understand me as an artist or you don't. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I think my mind's always creating, and I think it's like creating the same way I created Jaxs Rad in like a silly, goofy way that like I think it's funny in my head. Or like even when I design murals, I feel like a lot of my murals are come from like emotion, or like I want people to feel like an emotion when they see my murals, like joyful or like happy,
Yeah.
just because of its maybe because of the color. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I mean, I think that's
100%.
where I'm trying to like form that in my head is like, well, maybe that's my goal is just to paint color all over the world. And I don't know. I want to be
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of my drive for a long time was my pain from my past and trying to like prove myself that I can do this. And I'm still kind of there as like, I want to be untouchable, you know, like,
Yeah.
um, but I don't know. We'll see where I
Yeah.
go.
I'm super stoked for you because getting to know you throughout the years, like that's one thing I've noticed about you is you've like continually believed in yourself even when nothing like seemed like quote unquote possible. Because
I think it's been surrounding myself with like good people like you and like Kelly, and really this year I feel like I've had the really supportive friends that they've all been like, because I was like, maybe I'll go to London a month. They're like, yeah, do it.
yeah.
um, I don't know. I mean, I think you need people to cheer you on too, because it is hard. Like even today, I just felt so discouraged. But it's nice to like talk to an artist that was like, look, like I've been there too. Because I was like, look, I'm a nobody in London. Like in the world outside Jacksonville, no one knows who I am. Um,
Well, I'm like super stoked. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on the pod. Definitely every single time I think about Jacksonville times, I think about all of the fun times we had, all of the fun hangouts, Jax's Rad times. I think this episode has a lot of potential to dig in and kind of change your perspective and where you are at now, pursuing your dreams, or even thinking about like how to utilize social media for your business. And I hope that as you continue to go about your day, like we say here, reflect what's good.